If you're someone who watches movies, you already know a lot about contract killers. And everything you know is wrong. In Hollywood, a contract killer is someone who's ruthless, of course, but always is very satisfying to watch. They make a click-click sound in their gun and never fail. The real story of contract killers is slightly different. Believe it or not, Hollywood has made contract killing to be a cooler job than being an astronaut. Sorry, Neil Armstrong. In reality, the profession is just not that lucrative at all. An Australian study found out that only about 2% of the murders that occurred in recent years were the result of contract killing. So contract killers are starving, probably. But some killers, such as Richard, the Iceman Kuklinski, struck gold and were able to make their parents really proud by becoming rich. I mean, murder aside, the Iceman was a successful guy. But who was the Iceman? Here is his short biography. He was the choice contract killer for the Mafia families all over the U.S. East Coast for a good few years. He carried out his hits for some very famous families, like the Colombos and the Gambinos. Now let's take it back to when the Iceman was a little bit less brutal. When he was a baby. The Iceman was born in poverty and cruelty, as his father used to beat his wife and his children mercilessly. His older brother was murdered by his father by receiving a punch to the back of the head. His parents covered it up by saying he fell down some stairs. The Iceman even hated his own mother, as many children of abuse come down to when the mother doesn't defend them against the abuser. At 13, the Iceman would claim his first victim, albeit unintentionally. He actually killed his childhood bully in a fit of rage, but in the start, he'd only wanted to teach him a lesson. Soon enough, the bully wasn't moving anymore. The Iceman cut off his fingers and pulled out his teeth to avoid identification. And guess where he learned that from? True crime magazines. We always knew teaching children to read is a bad idea. Well, at 16, the Iceman committed his first premeditated murder. He set a policeman on fire, one that had dared to make fun of him during a poker game. It is safe to say that this man was just not a good guy. He started hunting people for sport before anyone decided to pay him. Once he was walking by a homeless man who wouldn't go away after the Iceman warned him. Surprise, surprise, the man ended up dead in a gutter. In fact, the Iceman loved to walk by the dead body to feel a sense of accomplishment. Such is the mentality of a contract killer. The name Iceman came after he committed a murder with the most idiotic motive. He once called over a random passerby and shot the man with a crossbow just to see if it actually worked. It did, which is why the man died, and his childhood buddies gave him the name the Iceman, as he was so cold-hearted. A similar event occurred when he went to a mobster to get a job. The mobster asked him to prove that he could kill. He simply went up to a pedestrian walking out in the street and shot him in the head. Without a change of expression, he walked back. To be fair to him, it did work, and he got the job. His paid killings were not few and far between. His body count went up to at least 200. And of course, he got bored with just shooting people through the head, so he had to add a little spice to his work life. These methods of execution included cyanide poisoning, and we don't want to give you any ideas, but the killings were basically ruled as heart attacks. He also made use of his huge physique in a very unconventional way. He used to throw a rope around their necks and then throw them over his shoulder. It was a new way of strangulation. His life of crime took him all over America, but he was still determined not to be like his father and beat his children. Often he would hit himself until he was unconscious, just to avoid hitting his children, and even said, "I love you" to his daughter a lot. His life story was revealed at trial, and he was given a life destined to rot in prison. Actually, he died before he could rot. Apparently, he died of an illness called Kawasaki disease, which only affects Japanese children. And if you weren't paying attention before, the Iceman was probably the opposite of a Japanese child. So it became obvious that he had died from mercury poisoning, and it was done after he had shared many Mafia secrets. The one thing you do not do. He was also set to testify against another mobster, and he did tell his family that he might die. The disease ended up putting the Iceman in a cardiac arrest, a great revenge for all the people who he had poisoned with cyanide while they were just trying to eat a tomato sandwich. But to be fair, you kind of deserve to be poisoned if you eat tomatoes. His wife gained the queen status when she refused to resuscitate him, even though he had signed a form saying that he wanted to be resuscitated. Such is the hatred his own family had for him, and for very good reasons. So even though Hollywood tries to deceive us into thinking that contract killers are good guys who do bad things. A person who does bad things is just a bad person. By bad things, we mean murder, not cheating while playing Monopoly. Contract killing has been around ever since humans figured out what it was, and is particularly rampant in areas where it is common for jilted lovers to kill the person they love, and also in political and mafia circles. Do you think there is any justifiable reason to hire a contract killer? If so, what is it? Comment below and we'll pin the best one. Like this video and share it with everyone who you know is obsessed with murder, which is everyone in life, trust us. Subscribe to our channel for more interesting videos, and we'll see you the next time we explore the world of crazy biography, right here on Explained.